sell for growth, and then buy back in when the market dips so that you can continue to expand on your stock portfolio. Or you can just do a buy and hold and just continue to increase the number of shares, because the growth of your dividends is going to be based on the quantity of shares that you have, not the value of each share that you have. So if you're shaving off the top to increase the quantity of shares that you have, especially if you're doing this using ETFs, then you can see yourself $100 up, sell $100 worth of stocks, see it go down, and then buy back in another $100 worth of stocks and see that difference in share quantity where you still have the same $1,000 value, just have more shares. That's the kind of investment improvements that will help you expand, and you'll see the change. It's a pennies on the dollar over the course of a large number of shares that'll total to be an additional $100 or $150. And the more you invest, the more you see. And if you're following it from the growth side of things, you will see, or not. No, if you're following it from the dividend side of things, you will see your returns happening a lot sooner, because you'll be getting emails notifying you that your dividends are in every month. And the more stocks that you have that are producing dividends, the more often out of the month that you're getting notified that those stocks are producing dividends, especially if you're doing monthly stocks. So you want to make sure that you tap into that to see what we've got going on. Now, we're going to keep you guys updated as to what's going on with TikTok, and we're going to be keeping you guys updated as to what's going on with the new tariffs that just hit and how the market is shifting. Now, since we're talking about Myanmar today, I wanted to dive in and make sure that, oh, you guys understand that we are a highly interactive podcast, so you can put your comments into the comment section, and this will be like a cross brand or cross platform communication. So you guys on Twitter can definitely communicate with those of you that are on uh, TikTok, and those of you that are on TikTok will be able to communicate with those of you that are on YouTube, and your comments will be seen as well as heard. So as you notice, they will be in the comment section over here and also over here, so that you guys will be able to get the most out of the show, because I want to give you guys all the information that you need. So if you got any questions, feel free to ask. Well, what if I told you that the fastest path to financial freedom wasn't just on Wall Street or on Silicon Valley? Ah, what if, for just a moment, it was in a country most investors were ignoring, a place where six-figure lifestyle could cost less than your rent back home, and where new industries were generating profits that you wouldn't have believed? For a brief shining moment in the 2010s, that place was Myanmar. One of the other places near Bangladesh. Special shout out to Bangladesh for being one of the largest followers of the platform, as we are internationally known. Myanmar was a golden frontier, newly opened to the new world and absolutely brimming with potential. Investors saw a nation of over 50 million people, rich in resources, strategically sandwiched between India and China, and hungry, which I think we've covered all of those so far, for developments. And they saw a chance to get in on the ground floor of the next great Asian economic boom. Now, the story was intoxicating, a unique blend of unorthodox, high potential investment opportunities paired with an incredibly affordable cost of living. That was a dream. The reality, as we stand here in late 2025, is a nightmare, right? The promise of high potential profits have completely evaporated, replaced by the stark reality of a nation in crisis. The 2021 military coup plunged Myanmar into a state of political turmoil and economic freefall, a situation made even worse by natural disasters and an escalating civil war. Foreign investment hasn't just slowed, it has collapsed. The economy isn't growing according to the World Bank, it is contracting. So, what happened to the gold mine? What was the promise that everyone saw in the past, and was it ever real? And in the wreckage of that dream, are there any pockets of opportunity left? Or is it just entirely a country now full of traps for unwary investors? Well, in tonight's show, I thought I'd be able to give you guys these thoughts in the making. This isn't a guide to getting rich because getting rich is a slow grind, not an instant overnight haul. This is a story about what happens when the frontier market slams shut, and this is an investigation into Myanmar's truly unorthodox path, not to pure profit, uh, but through a lot of peril. Stick with me, and I'll show you exactly how the dream died and what lessons every investor needs to learn from its demise. Now, just a few years ago, the first and most exciting chapter in Myanmar's growth story was its digital frontier. Think about it, a country where mobile phone penetration went from practically zero to nearly everywhere in under a decade. The leapfrog effect was in full swing. With a young, tech savvy population, Myanmar skipped the whole desktop era and went straight to mobile. For investors, this was a greenfield opportunity of epic proportion. The projections were staggering. Some reports from the era suggested smartphone adoption would rocket past 67 million users by the mid 2025, a figure that now seems absurd given the country's population is around 55 million. You would have to see certain individuals owning more than one phone per person. The ICT market was forecasted to be a multi billion-dollar industry. Entrepreneurs and venture capitalists flooded in, launching startups in every space you can imagine: fintech, agritech, e commerce, logistics, digital media. Co working spaces in Yangon were buzzing with energy. It felt like watching the birth of a new Silicon Valley, but at a fraction of the cost. The idea was simple: build digital solutions for a newly connected population. Mobile payment apps would replace a non existing credit card system. E commerce platforms would connect rural artisans to urban markets. For a time, it worked. Small, agile investors, both local and foreign, saw incredible early stage growth. They were solving real world problems and carving out a niche in a market with almost no legacy competition. Then the coup of February 2021 changed everything. The digital frontier, once a symbol of openness, became the first casualty of the new regime. Control, not growth, became the priority. The military's approach to the digital economy has been methodical and suffocating. The first and most brutal tool has been the internet blackout. Throughout 2024 and 2025, the junta has imposed more than 130 internet blockouts across dozens of townships, primarily in areas of active resistance. For an e commerce business or a fintech app in these regions, this isn't a slowdown, it's a death sentence. It's like turning off the power to an entire industrial park. For those in cities like Yangon and Mandalay, where the internet still works, a new, more sinister control has emerged: surveillance and legal restrictions, almost like America. In January 2025, the regime enacted a sweeping cybersecurity law. On paper, it's about protecting the nation from cyber threats. In reality, critics view it as one of the most repressive digital laws in the world. The law requires digital platforms with over 100,000 users to register as a local company and get a license. It gives the government power to suspend services or take down information that disrupts unity or is deemed false news. So if they don't like what you have to say, they will suspend your service or take down any information that you put up there. But the most chilling part for both users and businesses is the outright restriction on virtual private networks or VPNs. For years, VPNs were the main tool for citizens to bypass blocks on news and social media. Now, using an or providing VPNs is an unapproved service where carriers risk fines and even imprisonment. If you go there as a tourist and you're using a VPN, just like in China, there are a lot of places in Asia where utilizing a VPN, especially for commerce, for online websites, uh, can risk a lot of legal repercussions, including imprisonment. I have not seen how, if you're a podcaster and you're using a VPN to live stream your podcast, as long as you are not running an online store in that particular area, I have not seen how uh, the podcast itself would cause any issues, but the use of the VPN itself would definitely cause a problem. Now, if you're using a VPN, how do they find you? Especially if the VPN is active as soon as you turn on your device? That's a good question. I don't really know. But what I do know is that if they find you while you're using a VPN, you have, even if you're a foreigner, you've got some problems to deal with. So while you're free to use VPNs in the United States, when TikTok goes off the air in the United States and you start using those VPNs to watch TikTok China from America, you do what you can do. But if you try that nonsense in other countries, if the government says no, you cannot bypass them and think that you're going to get away with it, especially if you live there. Doesn't matter if you live there for a few months or if you live there for a year on a work visa. If you're there long enough, they can catch you. When they do, hey, that sucks. Now, the economic impact has been devastating. An online seller who relies on places like Facebook to reach customers told Radio Free Asia that the VPN restriction and connectivity issues have created uh, a crater for their business. And as online viewers and buyers have plummeted, this isn't an isolated story. The entire digital ecosystem is being choked. Payment gateways are unreliable due to the sanctions and banking crises. Logistics, the backbone of e commerce, is in shambles due to the conflict and fuel shortages. Now, foreign investors, once the lifeblood of the startup scene here, have fled. The risks are just too high. Between the political instability, the operational headaches, the constant threat of being shut down, and the reputational damage of operating under a sanctioned regime, the math no longer makes sense. The vibrant co working spaces have emptied out. The brain drain has been immense, and Myanmar's brightest seek safety and opportunities abroad. The dream of a digital gold rush has turned into a digital crackdown, and the unorthodox path for the tech investor in Myanmar today isn't one of high profits, but of navigating a minefield of surveillance, censorship, and sudden blackouts. The digital frontier closed. If the digital sector was the mind of Myanmar, investing in a economic boom, then ecotourism was the soul. The country is blessed with an almost mythical natural beauty, from the pristine islands of the Mergui, what is that, archipelago, to the serene fishermen of Inal Lake and the ancient temples of Bagan. Myanmar was a treasure trove for travelers. For investors, this was the green gold rush. The concept was brilliant. In a world saturated with overdeveloped tourist traps, Myanmar offered authenticity. The strategy wasn't to build massive resorts, but to develop high end, low impact eco lodges and community based tourism projects. This promised a powerful double whammy: generate huge returns from a luxury travel while promoting conservation and benefiting local communities. Imagine an investor that journeys there in 2020 or 2010. They could lease an island in the Mergol archipelago, build a small, sustainable resort, train staff from nearby villages, and offer exclusive diving and cultural experiences to high net worth clients. The potential returns were staggering. The cost of development was a fraction of a more established market, but the nightly rates could be world class. It was a perfect marriage of high profit and positive impact. During the golden period between 2012 and 2019, the industry flourished, and by 2019, tourism was generating over $2 billion. Even as late as September of 2025, official government ceremonies might speak of growth and a steady increase in international visitors. One report even claimed over 1.2 million tourists were arriving annually. But these official statements paint a dangerously misleading picture. The green gold rush is over. The tourism sector hasn't just slowed, it has utterly collapsed. The number one reason is safety. Following the 2021 coup, the country has descended into a widening civil war, with some tour operators claiming that main tourist spots like Yangon, Bangan, and Inile Lake are safe. That's the precarious and often untrue claim. The conflict is unpredictable. Governments across the world, including the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, have issued stringent do not travel advisories for Myanmar, which is a death knell for an industry reliant on international insurance. The real story is in the numbers. Compared to the pre coup era, tourist arrivals are now a mere trickle. International hotel chains that had rushed in, like Hilton, Kempinski, and Accor, have largely suspended operations or pulled it out. The eco lodges in the Mergui archipelago, once the crown jewel of the investment thesis, are now mostly empty. The operational environment is impossible, even if a tourist were willing to ignore the travel warnings. The journey is a logistical nightmare. March of 2025, a catastrophic 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck near Mandalay, causing extensive damage to infrastructure and killing thousands, leading to the government to suspend tourist visas. While some services may have resumed, the danger to the country's image as a viable destination was done. On top of that, the economic crisis makes running a high end tourism business nearly impossible. Persistent power shortages means resorts must rely on expensive generators. The banking crisis and strict currency controls makes paying international staff or importing supplies incredibly difficult. The kayak's collapse has driven up the price of everything, eroding any potential profit. What about domestic tourism? With nearly 30% of the population facing high levels of acute food insecurity and over 3.5 million people internally displaced by conflict, the idea of a thriving domestic leisure market is a fantasy. Now, the dream of a sustainable, profitable ecotourism industry has become a portrait of lost potential. The pristine beaches are still there. The ancient temples still stand, but they are monuments in a conflict zone. So the gold green rush revealed itself to be a fool's errand, a testament to the fact that no amount of natural beauty can outweigh the devastating impact of political violence. Beyond the glamour of tech and tourism, the bedrock of Myanmar investments thesis was always its potential as a productive powerhouse. Here was a country with fertile land, abundant resources, and a large, affordable labor force, perfectly positioned geographically. In agriculture, the vision was to move up the value chain from exporting raw commodities like rice and beans to producing high value processed products. Now, this meant investing in modern farming, better seeds, and food processing plants. The goal was to sell premium packaged coffee, not just raw beans. In manufacturing, the story was similar, with labor costs rising in China and Thailand. Myanmar was set to become the next hub for industries like garment manufacturing. International brands like H&M, Zara, and Primark moved production to Myanmar, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. The long term plan was to attract more sophisticated manufacturing from auto parts to electronics and climb the industrial ladder. For an investor, the opportunities seemed tangible. You can invest in a fruit processing plant or a state of the art seafood facility. The returns were based on the solid economics of production and trade. Today, the entire value chain is broken. The upward climb has turned into a free fall. Let's start with the basics. The World Banks, in its bleak 2025 outlook, repeatedly highlights the core problem crippling all productivity in all sectors: unreliable electricity, shortages of raw materials, and severe labor crunch. It's hard to run a factory when the power is out for half the day. It's impossible to manufacture goods when the regime's chaotic import restrictions and foreign exchange controls stop you from getting necessary parts. The labor shortage is ironic for a country once touted for its abundant workforce. The escalating conflict and the junta's mandatory conscription law have triggered a massive wave of migration. Young people are fleeing, creating a dire shortage of workers on farms and in factories. So, for agriculture, the situation is catastrophic. The conflict is raging in many of the most fertile regions like Sag- Sagaing and Magway. The March 2025 earthquake also devastated central Myanmar, affecting cropland and destroying infrastructure. Even when farms can produce, getting goods to market is a challenge, with trade at a key land borders falling dramatically. International pressure adds another layer of pain. After the coup, many brands began pulling out of Myanmar due to human rights concerns and reputational risks, a devastating blow to the garment industry. Dozens of major international companies across all sectors have withdrawn. New foreign investments has all but stopped. In the first 7 months of 2024, foreign investments was a paltry $150 million, a staggering drop from 3.8 billion seen in 2020. A fiscal year ending in March of 2025 saw inflow decline by nearly 60% from the previous year. Even the official economic data, which should be viewed with skepticism, painted a dire picture. While the regime's leaders project GDP growth, the World Bank and other analysts forecast a contraction for the fiscal year ending in March of 2025. BMI, a Fitch solution unit, suggests even the World Bank's grim prediction might be too optimistic, forecasting a 2.5% contraction and stating the outlook remains bleak. The estimate the economy is in now 20% smaller than it was in 2020. The vision of Myanmar as a thriving hub of production is gone, replaced by a reality of idle factories and uh, fallow fields. The country isn't climbing the value chain, it's being knocked off the ladder altogether. The ultimate allure of the Myanmar investments thesis was a simple but powerful formula. Combine high potential profits with an incredible low cost of living to create a fast track to financial freedom. So let's break down dream vision. An expat entrepreneur could move to Yangon, maybe earning $50,000 a year from their startup. In a Western capital, that's a comfortable life. Probably lower middle class life, maybe upper lower class life, definitely below the working class life. But in Myanmar, it made you rich. A modern apartment might cost a few $100s a month. A great local meal was just a couple of bucks. With expenses so low, you could live an amazing lifestyle while saving or reinvesting most of your income. The math was simple: high potential profits minus extremely low cost of living equals a massive savings rate. This was the accelerator. It meant you could pour capital back into your business, diversify, or just stack cash at a speed unimaginable back home. Now, this was the fast track to achieving financial independence in 5 or 10 years, not 40. Today, that formula has been inverted into a chillingly effective formula for financial ruin. So let's re examine the variables in the harsh light of 2025. First, the high potential profits. As we've seen, these have vanished. The digital frontier is locked down, tourism has collapsed, the agricultural and manufacturing value chains are broken. Instead of profits, most businesses face catastrophic losses or are just trying to survive. The first part of our equation is now deep in the negative territory. Next, extremely low cost of living. On the surface, if you're holding US dollars, Myanmar might still look cheap, but this is a dangerous illusion. The country is in the grip of punishing inflation. The World Bank noted inflation at a 34.1% occurrence in the year April of 2025, while the Asian Development Bank forecasts an annual rate of 30% for 2025. That's a lot. Michael says, I'm staying home on this one. Still too much violence. Rich if you live long enough. Way to play it, Jeff. This hyperinflation shreds the purchasing power of anyone earning in the local currency. The kite. Hey, not every country is balling out of control this year. And covering every country at random, most countries are going to be doing good. Most countries are going to have something worth getting into. And some countries are going to be problematic. Turns out Myanmar is one of those problematic countries at this moment. Now, while they do still have good investment opportunities that you can look into after the conflict has dissolved itself, global and economic conflict is what shifts the economy from what you want it to be to what it currently is. Michael says, "No, you keep all the money. I'm straight. I'm not trying to hold on to." I was looking at Myanmar like, huh, I could probably go there, but nah, we probably gonna go to Rwanda, Kazakhstan, um, Bangladesh, Bay of Bengals. We're gonna be stopping at safer places where money can be turned out a whole lot easier. The tiptoe into China, go to Vietnam. You know, the Philippines, especially the Philippines. You know, places where less than $1,000 a month give you a fantastic way to live. and all the rest of the money that you're bringing in, the cost of doing business. He said, you go over there, get dragged into the bushes, find yourself in the army. Well, you hope that you get drugged into the bushes and find yourself in the army. At least you'll be taken care of by the military, because you could find yourself in a bathtub of ice missing a kidney, or tied to a chair, attached to some jumper cables, getting waterboarded in a dark room somewhere. You never know. When you start talking about the conflicts of war, the conflicts of war is terrible. And for a foreign investor, the situation is worse. He said, stay at home. The kite has lost a huge portion of its value, and the central bank has imposed draconian rules, forcing currency conversion at an artificially low official rate, effectively confiscating a chunk of income funds. Basically, instead of taxing the fuck out of you, every time you convert money, they take a larger chunk of it. While the currency has recently stabilized on parallel markets, it's not due to a healthy economy, but because of even tighter controls that destroy trust in the banking sector. So while the dollar cost of living might seem low, the quality of that life has been decimated. So that cheap apartment in Yangon now has hours long power cuts, fuel shortages, make getting around a daily struggle. Supermarket shelves are often empty of imported goods. Access to modern health care is compromised. And over everything hangs the psychological toll of living in an environment of fear and violence. One of the things I want to think about is that if y'all got half a day power outages, what does your intensive care unit looks like? Because if power's going out at noon and you won't see it again till sunrise, everybody that can't breathe for 3 minutes ain't got no chance to pass daylight, much less sunset. Oh, he says Philippines, we're not going to China either. What's wrong with China? What's wrong with China? Because I thought Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, all good places to go. Well, as far as financial affordability. Now, when you start talking about, he said, sounds like America. The only difference is that you can't go there with your American firearms. I mean, you can pack your stuff and report it to the country and fly in, but you know that most countries that have a firearm ban will collect your firearms at the airport, or you have to surrender them at a nearby uh, police station or authority station and collect it on your way back out, assuming that they will return your firearms to you without an issue. You'll be able to leave with your firearms to go back to where you came from. But you might have a difficulty with protecting yourself while you're there if they're not allowing you to conceal carry with your own American firearm. Now, can you buy a firearm from them? Quite possibly. Certain countries do not prohibit or ban foreigners from buying local firearms, but you're going to have to go through the motions of getting one and getting it registered. I mean, it's not as easily as talking to somebody in a dark alleyway in America and buying it out the trunk of a car. And it's also not as easy as buying one online in America and getting it shipped to your house. So you gotta figure another way. Myanmar in America might be one and the same. Is I won't keep my kidneys. Access to modern health care is also compromised, and over everything hangs that psychological toll. So let's write the new formula: business losses or extreme risk minus a deceivingly low cost of living, undermined by hyperinflation, shortages, and a collapsing quality of living equals a fast track to a financial and personal ruin. Now, the attractive math of the Myanmar dream has been replaced by a brutal calculation of risk and loss. It's a stark reminder that the numbers on a spreadsheet are meaningless without a foundation of stability, rule of law, and basic human security. So, what happens to the Myanmar unorthodox path to high potential profits? The answer is tragically clear. The path led off a cliff. The story of Myanmar is a powerful, sobering lesson for any investors drawn to frontier markets. It teaches us that potential is not the same as reality. Projections are not as guaranteed or even remotely considered a promise. And a low cost of living is no substitute for a functioning society. The dream was built on a fragile assumption that the country's progress would be linear and irreversible. The 2021 coup shattered that. The crisis that followed has shown how interconnected everything is. You cannot have a thriving tech sector without a free internet system. You cannot have a booming tourism industry without safety. You cannot have a robust manufacturing base without reliable power and global access. And you cannot achieve financial freedom in an economy that is fundamentally broken. Myanmar proves that the greatest profits are found where there is a bedrock of predictability, rule of law, and a government focused on growth, not just clinging to power. Without that, any investment is built on sand. As of late 2025, Myanmar is not a gold mine as of yet. It's a cautionary tale. For foreign investors, the message is unambiguous. The risks overwhelmingly outweigh any potential reward. The capital has fled and is unlikely to return until there is a fundamental, lasting change in the country's trajectory. This has been a bleak analysis because the situation is bleak. But understanding failure is often more useful than studying the success. The collapse of the Myanmar dream offers invaluable lessons in risk assessment and political analysis that go far beyond the numbers. So, if you found this deep dive valuable and you want more unfiltered analysis of global investment risks and the opportunities behind those investment risks, make sure that you guys take the opportunity to hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell because we believe in looking past the hype to tell you the real story. Now, I do want to hear from some of you guys. What are your thoughts on investing in high risk, politically unstable markets and um, governmental conflict countries? Has an experience like Myanmar's sworn you off them entirely? And what other emerging markets do you think hold genuine stable potential today? If we haven't covered it, I more than likely will be covering it coming soon. Make sure that you let me know in the comment sections because I read every single one of them. Now, one of the things I did do because I like busting myths. I like looking through social media and finding those trends that are completely false, that are getting thousands of views. And I like to cover the reviews of those to make sure that you know what's happening out there is either really happening or not really happening. So, tomorrow, Thursday, we will be covering some of the myths that we've seen as of late, where they were talking about how you can, as a Westerner, travel over to places like Japan, Vietnam, and the Philippines and find yourself an instantly simple wife based on places like Japan that are having the bachelor tax or the single tax. We're going to be covering the ins and outs of that and some of the other dating and relationship myths that exist while providing verification on some of the facts. By doing so, you will be able to navigate the true to life facts that leads to your decisions. Because if you've watched, because a lot of people take social media and they live by what they see on social media. If it's not true, they don't put forth the effort to verify it. I put in enough effort to go verify it so that when I tell you that this is the way it is right now, the day that the show is going live, if you went and asked the Google lady, you would come to find out that everything that I have told you is legitimate. You can go out there and Google search just about anything, and you will find that everything that I've covered on the show backed by facts. However, those individuals that go out there on a whim, they see a headline coming across social media, and then they run out there and make an impulse decision based on emotions, not logic and reason. They might find themselves traveling to failure, which is one of the reasons why, like Michael says, high risk, high rewards. Well, actually, depending on where you go, you're looking at high risks, low rewards, which makes it less worth the effort. And that's one of the reasons why covering every country around the world lets you know where we stand right now today, where we stand this year, because change doesn't happen all of a sudden, it happens over time. It starts suddenly, but the completion of change takes time. So if you ever think that something is a quick fix, an easy in, an easy out, usually there's some sacrifice involved. You just haven't figured out what it is. Now, Myanmar being a small country has small facts, small details, so there wasn't much for me to cover for today, and it turned out to not be a very profitable place to be. Uh, don't know what to tell you. I rolled the dice on it. And I covered everything around Bangladesh. So now I've got to either move to the left of USSR or move to the right. Either way, make sure that we cover each country before we go there. Michael says, and I go and verify what he says. So you've got two to you. That makes us a peer reviewed podcast because not only do I tell you what's real, directly in the comment section. You see him right there. You see him right there directly in the comment section. I get peer review verification that what I'm telling you guys is legit. He said, that's a fact, Jake. Now, since we're going to be covering that tomorrow, we're also going to be covering next week about finding purpose in your life and how that finding purpose improves your marriage as well as improving your dating life. So we're going to be talking about those things. We have the next 7 days up listed, so you can go through the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell on all of the shows. And as soon as we go live, it'll give you a notification and swing you in. So make sure that you take the opportunity to enjoy that uh, throughout the week. Now I'm going to say on my way out of the door, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I want to make sure that I keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Now, fellas, I give you guys this information to help you guys become higher value men by providing you with the knowledge and information you need to improve your financial life so that you have more money for your personal life, giving you decisions to improve your personal life so that you're not making financially taxing decisions that negatively impacts the profits that you've made from your financial life. These things are intertwined with one another. So take it and use it and improve yourself. Now, ladies, this is not exclusive to the fellas. While we are about 64% of a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, this is not exclusive to the fellas. You ladies can take this information and make yourselves higher value ladies as well. Where finding a partner that has the same drive and the same intent allows you guys to use different information from different situations to collaborate together and work towards the same goals, being more successful in relationships. Likewise, the information that I give you guys gives you the front line look at the things that you might not like in your life that you can change because it is within your control. By taking the information that I give you and being proactive about your life, instead of you having a life that it is what it is and you're not satisfied with the way it is, you can make change towards anything that you do not like that is in your control and then navigate around the rest. You should have a life that you're satisfied with, one that you are proud of, one that you have no problem with bragging about. Michael says he's got a question. What's your question, Michael? We'll see what the question is. And one of the other things, 'cause we got a lot of things that we're going to be covering coming soon, and we're going to be touching base on some of the political disarray because we did just cover the tariff boom a second time around, and since they're again doing tariff increases on uh, industries that are impacting real estate, you notice that the real estate market is taking a slight swing again. Where's the ladies? That's his question. Where's the ladies? Well, specifically, are you looking for traditional ladies or are you just looking for ladies in general? Because about 50% of the population, 51% of the population is female around the world. So out of about 8 billion people, about 4 billion of them are women, which means that you can go to just about any country and find women to look at. Now, where are the ones that are respectable towards men? Where are the ones that are respectable towards Americans? Where are the ones that are respectable towards minority men? That is a more enticing question. So that means that you would have to look into certain countries, like the less, because all countries have a level of racism and colorism and bias, but the less catastrophic ones would be places like the Philippines is number one for the best place to go. Then you have places like Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, that are the other places to go, and that's top on the list when you start talking about finding some where you don't have the racial barrier because you can go to places like Bangladesh and Rwanda, Kazakhstan, and other such areas where the financial status would outweigh racial bias, and you'd be able to go out there and go find and over in Bangladesh they speak English. So if you go to a country that speaks English, you have less of a communication barrier that would prohibit you from finding the right person. So really doing your research and but anybody who's looking for a traditional woman, you would have to go to the east. The further east you go, the further traditionalized and family oriented the women are. So you're less likely to find one that abandons the family and goes and chases a career. They actually balance the career by going to work and coming back and being a positive participant in the satisfaction of the family, which is different from what we get in America, because in America it is every feminist for themselves and there's no room for building a family. And if they decide to build a family, it's going to be on their terms, where the men are just pawns in a much bigger picture, where the satisfaction of one person outweighs the satisfaction of the family. And that's not a successful or thriving relationship. Michael says, you sure there's others here? Well, yeah, I only see three people. Well, there are plenty of people that come in and out of the channel, and YouTube has again changed its viewerships. So what happens is that the ticker is not up to date, showing all of the people that are actively watching, because as you see the ads, when you go out, the ticker changes, and when you come back, the ticker doesn't always change. Individuals that are on for 5 seconds in passing will come on and then go back off, and then their ticker might be there, but then their ticker might not be there. Those that are marinating on the channel will be here, and those individuals will be seen until they get hit with an ad, and then they may not be seen. You're still here commenting on the comment section, but you're not necessarily registered. Individuals that are scrolling back to see what I said, to catch what I missed, those individuals are still watching the show, but they're not watching the show in live time, which means that they're not being counted as a live participant because it is something I said 20 minutes ago. So there's a lot of things that's going on that definitely interferes with the podcaster's ability to show and see proactive individuals on a channel. But we're definitely covering about 4 to 5 thousand views a day. So there's a lot of people watching the show today. There's a lot of people watching the show every day. But they're not always communicating because, like I said before, more individuals like to watch and listen and learn, got it playing in the background while they're doing something else, and less of them have the motivation to turn on the thing and then get on and start communicating. And I don't mind. If you're here and you're just listening, then as long as you learn something and proactively take action towards it, fantastic. However, if you come and you start communicating, we're open arms. Now, once we finish with the merger with TikTok, you'll see a lot more commenters on here because TikTok is a very interactive platform. Twitter is a watch and listen platform, and YouTube is also a watch and listen platform, where YouTube started up with music and then went towards podcasting. Twitter started up with news and then went with podcasting. So it's not always the same. Michael says, I'm going to join the runaway since I'm not getting any. So when I leave, all the people come on. Well, the people are on. The people are on. They're watching. They're listening. They're not always commenting. I've got people on all three of the channels. They don't always say stuff. You're the one of the most active ones that are here. But even Steven that comes on and watches the show, he used to come on and speak every time he got on. Now he just listens in the background. We've got Carl that comes through on a regular basis. He was in the hospital with his family. Can't be on, but he could watch the show. As long as they're able to gain something from it, I don't mind if they're able to get there and give me a nice conversation, as long as they're able to learn something and apply it to improving their lives. Because it's not about me getting attention, it's about me delivering information. And it's delivering factual information that people can learn from, grow, and improve. That's the goal. Now, over time, we will see a larger quantity of individuals, because this is actually a niche podcast. And I'm glad that you asked about that. This is actually a niche podcast. This is a frontier style podcast. Very few podcasters have multiple streaming platforms streaming their channel at the same time. And very few of them cover the wide range of topics that I cover. I actually cover a holistic portion of information that is life changing, where some individuals uh, uh, put a lot of effort into one specific conflictual topic. I touch on multiple topics that allows individuals to get in there and grow with the information that I give them. He said, okay, take my finger power away. I don't have to take your finger power away. I trust your judgment. And we do occasionally have individuals that come through and troll the channel. Every online channel has that. One of the things that happened was we went from the YouTube Shorts, which did not show any difference on the ticker, where you still would see a small number, but you would see hundreds of thousands of people coming in during the live, and you would have a large quantity of trolls that would come in the comment section and disrupt the communication. Well, for individuals that like you that come on and you are primarily in the comment section, if your comments were passed over because some jackass is up here with 3 accounts throwing comments like wildfire, where 3 different troll accounts are negatively communicating with one another at the same time, disrupting the whole channel, you wouldn't want that to last. So if I didn't see it and you see somebody up there being an asshole in the comment section, you take the push a button, put them in timeout. You might find that when you put them in timeout, some people are bold enough to say, hey, why did you block my alt account? Well, what the fuck are you doing here with more than one account? Nobody shows up to the party with 3 cars. you know? So you having the ability to make sure that your experience is not compromised by individuals that pop in with a negative intent gives you the ability to enjoy the show. Likewise, individuals that are going to get on the show and interact, you'll see that a lot of individuals that do come and interact will come and interact from primarily YouTube, because YouTube is an older generation of individuals that specifically communicate on live channel feeds, because YouTube is more popular with podcasting. Again, like I said, Twitter is news where people just listen. Twitch is gamers. They have podcasts, but they're not usually podcasts that are interactive. So they typically just watch. And then TikTok is a lot of commenters, because most podcasters on TikTok deliberately interact. Usually it's a reasonably hot chick that's talking to the comment section, but the people actually interact with the host. So once we link with TikTok, you're going to see a lot more commenters from TikTok, um, especially if the US version doesn't red flag conflictual comments that we make. And those individuals will flood the comment section appropriately, might I add. It just depends. Michael says, I need conflict or my finger doesn't work. I put them in timeout. Exactly. You know, he said, I blocked them forever. Oh, yeah. They'll put in a handful of comments. And then, after I tell them to watch what they do, as soon as I take action, they're like blocked forever. I don't even waste my time with a timeout. But you give them patience. You'll give them like a 1 minute timeout, which stops their spamming. You'll give them a 10-minute timeout, which stops their negative interference. And by the time the 10 minutes are up, they're either going to behave or they've moved on somewhere else. If they keep coming back, then they get blocked. Me, I'm just like, nope, 4 or 5 inappropriate comments, or just like spamming the comment section in a conflictual manner, I'm just like, nope, they're out. I make an exception with Max the Poser, because he does come through, Max the Poser and TF Fireball, because they do come through and they learn something more often than not. But from time to time, they come in and they do spam the comment section, and I got to stop them and say, hey, watch what you're doing, because while you have supported the channel before, at the end of the day, you're stopping individuals that are on the channel right now from enjoying the channel. But at the same time, commenters content creators have to take into account, the more comments that are rolling through the comment section, the more traction the show is getting, and the more the algorithm shows the show to other people. Another issue that we have is that because my podcast covers controversial topics, different countries around the world, some of them at war, different topics like race, religion, sexual preference, like when mixed martial arts comes in and talks about how he wants to be gay and not being gay at the same time, you know, those types of topics, puts the channel into the adult only section of YouTube, which puts us in a position where we get seen less, but we still get seen. So while the largest majority of our followers are coming from Bangladesh, where America is like number three on the list. We get like more views from Bangladesh and Russia than what we get from the United States, but we still getting from the United States, where California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and New York are the top five states that watch us here in the United States. But at the same time, when our content starts becoming controversial, we become in the restricted mode section where if you didn't notice, you would have to go into your settings, scroll down on your YouTube settings and scroll down, you will see restricted mode already activated on your phone or your tablet. Turn that off. Go back to the main YouTube page. You could go to my channel and find so many more videos available than the ones that were available when restricted mode was on. So when I think about it, I tell people about it on a regular basis. You know, hey, turn off your restricted mode because YouTube has a whole treasure trove of hidden podcasts that they just don't show because there's too much cursing, the sensitive topics, stuff to that effect, and you know, to keep the kids from seeing it, they put it on an adult only setup. He said, but Matt would like that. Well, Matt can swing through. You talk about Matt Rife, Matt can swing through. It's just, that's what we have to deal with. As content creators, we have to deal with the changes and the updates. We get a lot of uh we get a lot of updates on a weekly basis from YouTube notifying us of content changes, but those content changes are in the works. They're not actually mainstream. So when they've been working on the viewer count for the last 9 months, they've changed the algorithm to pay more attention to engaged viewers, where engaged viewers are considered viewers that are upward of 15 seconds on the live or 15 seconds on the video. Now you still get hit with the ad within the first 30 seconds of getting on the show. So, that doesn't make a change with your revenue stream, but they also take away the revenue from virtual 9 by 16 form. They take away the revenue from virtual for any channels that just so happen to be driven by kids where the platform started as an under the age of 18 platform, even if the age got changed after the channel was created. So you end up not even getting revenue from certain and creators. We just got to take the hit and keep going. It doesn't make it. It's restrictions upon restrictions. So just like when we were talking about Myanmar's blackout sessions and restricted information sessions, we have the same thing going on here in America. While we have a constitutional right of freedom of speech, and YouTube is being more flexible with allowing content creators to say whatever they want, their ability to be monetized is limited, and their ability to be visible is even more limited. So unless you're running ads to bypass the fact that you're being restricted, you have a harder time coming out as a content creator. But one of the things that you'll notice is that we're still gaining about 600 or 700 subscribers every day, which is really booming for a podcast in this niche. We can see ourselves crossing 100,000 subscribers by December. We could see us crossing over 200,000 subscribers by this time next year. And that means that we are doing it the right way and staying in it. But we've got to navigate through the changes because the changes causes the disarray and the disarray causes the depletion in viewership. And we also got to take into account that we're creeping up on Halloween. We're about to deal with some traveling. So we're going to be dealing with college students that are focusing on exams right now who used to watch it fully uh, weeks before. And then we're looking at people that are dealing with their children coming home for the holidays. So all of these things also play into the impacts of the success of podcasts. Now, one thing I've also noticed at this time of night, the news is probably the only thing that negatively impacts the channel because football and Raw take over the airways in the afternoons. One of the reasons why I start closer to 10 o'clock, 10:30, because football has done its last kickoff at 10 o'clock at night and wrestling has gone off, which are the two most dominant uh, live streams out there next to news. So whenever Donald Trump has a late afternoon address where he's working late, he takes over the airways as well. Podcasters have to navigate past that. And since I'm niche in multiple different categories, instead of me having to combat with some of those 5 million viewer subscriber channels, 10 million viewer subscriber channels, I kind of just touch on a topic that they've touched on and then double back to something else. So we're going to be seeing what's going on. He said, Comrades, the New World Order by November 13th. Well, yeah. And then you have a birthday coming up. So you should make sure that come your birthday, you're able to enjoy the success from the knowledge and information that I give you. And we will see exactly what we have coming up with uh, future live streams. But we're going to make sure that we're running the lives every night of the week because we're going to stay consistent. I do know that I'm going to have like one live that I'm going to end up having to probably pre-record because I have to catch a flight that's going to end up being an overnight flight. That's going to be inconvenient. Either way, though, we're going to be making sure but it's going to be on a Sunday, so it's not really going to negatively impact much. It's going to be one of those questions and comment shows. So we'll have all of the updated information for that day, but it's going to kind of throw a wrench in things. But I'm going to make sure that we go live so that we maintain reputation. So you're never going to miss us. 7 nights a week. This is what we do. Um, but yeah, that's all I've got for you guys for tonight. Tonight was a very short night because Myanmar was a very small country with a large quantity of problems and very few financial opportunities. Um, but next week we're talking about Croatia, and I actually got to talk to. I do believe there might be a promotion that I'm going to be doing at that time, so I'm going to be trying to solidify Croatia. Uh, because there's this promotion where individuals can buy a vacation to Croatia and live off of one of the resorts in the islands. So while I'm talking about Croatia, I'm going to be trying to promote that company's resorts at the same time. But I got to make sure that I lock in that particular um, contract this week. So between now and next Wednesday, hopefully I get that green light. So I'm going to be working on that as well as navigating some other things. So just stay tuned because you're going to like some of the stuff that we've got going on. And then also, one of the clients that I had was supposed to be providing me with a book. I got to reach back out because the post office lost the book. So what's going to happen is the post office is going to buy the book again. So the author of the book is going to send me the book, but I've got the audio file. So I'm going to try to take some of the information out of the book, uh, do a sideshow of it. So you're going to see that in a long form video outside of the live and site where you can go to get the book. and put that up there. Then when I get the book, I'll be able to show you the book on live. So we're still working on that as well. And also, I need to go and take a look at. I was supposed to have a small coffee curator thing that was supposed to come in. So I'm going to go and find out where that is as well, because that's going to be something that he said. Great knowledge for a 70-year-old. Well, of course it is. Uh, He said, "Nah, I'm confident to go out on a date. You need to be. You need to be. They're supposed to be giving me like a portable espresso thing, so I got to find that, see where that is, and then once it comes in, I'll be able to show you guys what that looks like. And I got to check and see when that one was sent, so that I can find out if it is here, and then because I didn't see it yet, and we'll figure out what's going on with that. So I'm glad that we're talking about this after the show. But yeah, definitely remember to like and subscribe, because when I come through with good things, I like to share them with y'all so that y'all know what y'all can get yourself into, because that helps you guys with learning and growing. And we don't really think about the things that we benefit from until somebody tells us. So you're talking about it while you're sitting out on the porch smoking a cigarette, while you're out talking with your friends. You're talking about it when somebody calls you and, hey, did you know about X, Y, and Z? Usually the rumor mill happens where somebody plants that seed and tells you that there's something worth watching or looking at or investing in, and then you go and take a look at it. But until that happens, you typically don't know that it exists, which means you're missing out on some potential benefits. So I try my best to bring you guys the benefits. Now, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations